Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to be going over my Tsukuyomi deck. So Tsukuyomi is it's one of those decks where I want to say it has a barrier of entry to play, I'll put it that way. Meaning it can be a little bit intimidating to pick up and play because it requires a lot of like looking through the log and remembering. I mean, a lot of people take notes. You don't really have to take notes, but it definitely helps you understand how you're going to play in the late game while you're still in the early game, so you can strategize more about how the game goes. I mean, sometimes things won't play out exactly as you want them to, mainly because you have no control over what your opponent's trigger lineup is like, when they're going to trigger, when they're going, if they run crits, for example, if they run stands, you know, those sort of things can kind of catch you off guard. Like force extra damage out of your stack, for instance. So it's mainly about understanding the stack and understanding when to use the skill to go off. But usually what you do is you'll draw in the mid game, like once you're on grade 3, and then you'll set up your stack with some key cards in the deck. One of them being Oracle Guardian Blue Eye. Basically, when it boosts, if the soul has 6 or more cards, you draw a card and then put a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. So this helps you return, say, a heal trigger that you drew early, or like a crit trigger or a draw trigger, and you know, any trigger basically, and then you draw into stuff like perfect guards and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty good. There's a lot of draw power, so you don't need Maiden of Libra because Tsukuyomi does the counterblast 2 to draw 2 and then put something from the hand to the soul. So you basically use the counterblast exclusively with Tsukuyomi. There's CEO as a backup, and you can use the Mega Blast skill, but like honestly, in playing the deck, like this never really happens. I mean, it can happen, but it's if you're relying on that, then you're pretty much not playing the Tsukuyomi build that whole game. So you're basically gonna be playing standard OTT at that point. So for Tsukuyomi, or Goddess of the Full Moon Tsukuyomi, it's really good. It's 11k. It's the only 11k Vanguard that, actually, I take that back. Imperial Daughter is also 11k, but Tsukuyomi is really good. I have seen some people running Imperial Daughter with Tsukuyomi. I don't really know why you do that. I mean, I guess you could, but the two styles play completely differently, so I don't know why you do that. I mean, I guess if they were gonna run Imperial Daughter, I mean, they would take CEO out, but then they would have to run like Dark Cat and some other stuff, so it's kind of weird. But I mean, it can be done. For backups, you run CEO, and Uriel is in here at like 2 copies because sometimes it's useful, but it's pretty situational. It'll only ever go off in the late game, but sometimes it is good at just fishing out a random card from the opponent's hand, and sometimes in late game it's usually going to be a PG. So it gives you an additional, it's kind of like a pseudo Silent Tom, or a Silent Tom on the cheap in a way, but it functions in a similar way, just not as consistent. And then we run 4 Secretary Angel as the heal. When it attacks, does the same thing as the Blue Eye when it boosts. So basically, if you have 6 or more in the soul, draw a card, put a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. So for those wondering how the deck works, essentially, Secretary Angel and Blue Eye. There is a grade 2 that I chose not to run, but if you were going to run them, you would take out Oracle Guardian Wise Man. I opted for the 10k just to be able to run over other 10ks without boosters. But yeah, you could run we can look it up here. It's an angel dude. This guy. You could run Faithful Angel. He is the grade 2 that does the same thing. I was running him. I took him out because sometimes, I don't know, I just kept getting lucky with having the blue eye in the back, and that I wouldn't really need this guy because sometimes it can mess up, like you know you have a trigger, you don't really want to draw it, so that's why I feel like sometimes this card can kind of backfire, so that's why I'm not running it. But it depends on your playstyle and your attack order. I would say maybe perhaps if you run stand triggers, it would make sense to run that guy, and I think most people would probably say that stands is more optimal. But crits are totally fine because it just depends on what you want out of the deck. Like, do you want to try to push them to 5 faster? Or do you want to play a more grindy game and grind them to 5 and then bring out Silent Tom. So that I opted for the former style of play, like run more crits, get them to 5 early, then just bring out Silent Tom and just end the game there. You don't have to worry about having to restand Silent Tom or that sort of things. So play a more aggressive game. You have a good draw engine, so you don't have to worry. Like usually the deck can do pretty good against like Kagero. Sometimes I feel like the one deck that counters Tsukuyomi is probably Garmor or like Royal Rush. Perfect Riser is a tough matchup always. Doesn't matter which deck you're using against it, but that's just going to be what it is. But the two decks are pretty even. Perfect Riser is faster though at dealing damage, so I feel like if you're not drawing into PGs, you can have a hard time. But the thing about Perfect Riser you got to remember is that they have to commit a lot and they go heavy minus on the Perfect Riser to get the critical. So if you run crits also, I feel like you're able to have a, like you catch them off balance a little bit more when you have crits. But you also run the draws as well. I mean, we want draw power, so 4 draw, or you could do like 4 crit and 5 draw. It doesn't really matter. I opted for more crit because the deck already has a pretty good draw power, and it's all about setting up the stack. If you stack crits on the bottom of the stack, you know that it's going to be really, really scary for the opponent later on when you have like Silent Tom and Uriel and stuff like that can cause some trouble. So that's the grade 3 lineup. Grade 2s, basically we run 4 of the Half Moon, 3 of this because it's a 12k during your turn. Now you don't have to run this, but I feel like it's pretty good. It'll be good against MLB next month, so I feel like it's still pretty relevant. Wise Man, you don't need to run him, but I like him in here. And then, of course, 4 Silent Tom. Silent Tom, just like he's still your primary win condition. You want to draw into this at some point with Tsukuyomi's skill, or just naturally draw into him, and you just kind of like save him for the end of the turn. We run 4 for the maximum consistency of being able to get him to the hand. Sometimes you're going to damage check him. Sometimes you're going to have to, like put him in the soul or something if you have like 2 of them. So it's always good to have as many of your win condition as possible. So 4 Silent Tom, it just helps the deck just kill the opponent really quick. And then Oracle Guardian, Blue Eye, 3, 4 Tsukuyomi grade 1s, and then 2 Gemini Elf, mainly because this with Silent Tom is a 16k column, so it just helps. And then 4 PG. And then the starter of the Tsukuyomi Ride Chain. So that's basically the deck. There's many ways to build a deck. That's the cool thing about the game. I'm not trying to say that mine is more like better than others. I mean, I understand why people run stands. It really just boils down to how you plan to do your attack order in the late game. I feel like if I can get the opponent to 5 damage, I'm just gonna use if I have to, I'll just make the Vanguard kill off an Interceptor and then Silent Tom will attack for game. I mean, you don't have to worry about the stand. I mean, the stand can come in handy if they have like 2 intercepts, but then you just call like something down to kill the other Interceptor on the other side. So you would call down like, whatever you have, a CEO, or, if you have to form a column with like 2 PGs. I did that like one game. I called 2 PGs in one column, had Silent Tom and Gemini in one column, and then I think Tsukuyomi and the blue on the center line, and just basically ended the game by making Tsukuyomi kill the first Interceptor, making the PGs kill the other Interceptor, and Silent Tom attack for game. So I mean, you can still get, as long as you can get 3 attacks in, you don't have to worry about the stand trigger. You don't really need them, honestly. So that's basically the deck profile. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm interested to understand more about the opinion of why stands are better. I strongly feel like as long as you can do 3 attacks on your final turn, stands aren't necessary. I mean, the only way is they 6 damage heal, but 6 damage heal is a thing that, like, if you check a stand, then good, but will Silent Tom be able to hit like without the booster if you had to use him? Like if you had to boost with him, you had to boost with Gemini to like hit their Vanguard in the first place and the 6 damage heal. Then you attack with the Vanguard and you check a stand. Like what are they gonna do? They're gonna PG the Vanguard, and then then what's Silent Tom gonna do? I mean, can he hit? if they're at like 16 or 15. You know, that's why I feel like, I don't know, is the stand really that good? Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on the deck. I'm curious to hear from people who climbed rank with Tsukuyomi, because I personally didn't. I said in previous videos I used reindeer and risers to climb ranked, but I did have this deck like from day one. Just never really played it too much. I played it a couple games with this build, or maybe I changed it up. I had like the angel in there, changed it up a little bit. But anyway, guys, that's the deck profile for Tsukuyomi. And the deck will be relevant for a really long time, just like Risers, I feel. Like, OTT is not going to get any support until later on in the Limit Break series. They're going to get the Battle Sisters, which Battle Sisters will be amazing. But let me know your thoughts on the clans, like, matchups. Like, what if you play Tsukuyomi, what is your, like, what do you consider your good matchups? What do you consider your bad matchups? I'm curious to know from players who actually main Tsukuyomi. So anyway, guys, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Please leave a like if you like the video, and if you sub, it really helps me out, makes me feel like making more of these videos and try to invest more into the channel. And I will catch you guys next time. Thanks.